Have you ever met someone who just seemed almost too perfect? Unbelievably charming, super confident, maybe a little intense? Well, what if that charm wasn't a personality trait, but a weapon? Okay, let's get into this because we are about to peel back the mask on one of the most fascinating and frankly terrifying conditions in all of psychology.
This quote from Stefan Verstappen, it really just cuts right to the heart of it all. See, we're not talking about some movie monster or a misunderstood loner here. No, we're talking about a type of person who walks among us, perfectly camouflaged, and they are playing a completely different game with a completely different set of rules.
And believe me, they are walking among us. Experts estimate that a full 1% of the entire population are psychopaths. That's 1 in every 100 people. Just let that sink in for a second. The odds are, you've met one. You've probably worked with one. Or maybe even walked right past one on the street today.
Which, of course, brings us to the biggest question of all. If they're really so dangerous, and there are that many of them out there, how in the world do they blend in so perfectly? How do they hide a predatory nature right under our noses?
Well, it all comes down to their greatest tool, their most effective piece of camouflage. It's something researchers call the mask of sanity. And the scary part is, it's a persona that is way more charming than it is chilling, which makes it incredibly hard to see.
Now, this isn't just, a simple act they put on. It's a highly sophisticated, lifelong performance. They are masters at mimicking the emotions they see in other people, and they use that to build this completely believable persona that lets them get close, gain our trust, and in the end, exploit us without anyone ever suspecting a thing.
And these traits, these are literally their primary weapons. Their charm is magnetic. It's how a notorious killer like Ted Bundy, and get this, could receive love letters while he was in prison. People were just completely captivated by his friendly, normal guy facade. They have this stunning, almost supernatural ability to read people, to figure out what you want and what you're afraid of, and then use that knowledge to twist you around their finger.
But here's the thing, the performance is imperfect. As convincing as that mask is, there are these strange, unsettling little glitches in their programming. Tiny behavioral tells that, if you know what to look for, can actually reveal the predator hiding underneath.
First up, something called the predatory gaze. Victims often talk about this. It's an intense, unnerving stare with very little blinking. It can feel like they're looking right through you, not at you as a person, but at you as an object. It's a subtle but really powerful way to intimidate and establish dominance.
Okay, here's a really weird one. Yawn immunity. You know how when someone yawns, you feel the urge to yawn? That's contagious yawning, and it's actually a primitive form of empathy. Well, psychopaths, because they lack that deep empathetic connection, often don't feel that urge at all. It's such a small, bizarre detail, but it points to a massive difference in how they're wired.
Or how about this? Have you ever been with someone who giggled during a really sad story or laughed at a tense part in a movie? Psychopaths often have these totally inappropriate emotional responses. They might seem amused by things that normal people would find disturbing or tragic, and that's because, for them, the emotional wiring just isn't there.
And you should listen to how they talk. Studies have actually shown they often use the past tense when they're talking about their own actions. It's a way to create emotional distance. They also tend to sprinkle their speech with filler words like and which might be an attempt to sound normal, but it can actually be a sign that they're building that persona in real time.
All right, so we've seen the mask, and we've seen the little cracks in it. Now let's go deeper. Let's look at what's actually going on inside their heads. Because what they lack, well, that's precisely what makes them so uniquely dangerous.
This right here is absolutely crucial. See, psychopaths have what's called cognitive empathy. They can understand on an intellectual level that you're sad about losing your job. They can read all the signs, but they have zero emotional empathy. They can't feel your sadness with you. To them, your emotion is just data, a weakness, an opportunity that they can use to manipulate you. And that's why they feel absolutely no remorse.
Their motivation is also hardwired differently. Research shows their brains are kind of flooded with dopamine, which is the brain's reward chemical. So for a psychopath, the ultimate high, the biggest rush, comes from having power, from winning, from controlling other people. They're basically dopamine junkies, and manipulation is their drug of choice.
And if that wasn't enough, add in a brain that just doesn't process fear the same way we do. Brain scans show they have a less active amygdala, which is basically our brain's fear center. This leads to extreme risk-taking and a complete lack of concern for consequences, whether it's getting caught, hurting someone, or even their own safety.
So all this unique wiring means that a lot of psychopaths aren't the violent criminals we see in movies. Actually, many of them are incredibly successful. So that begs the question, where in our society do these predators find their perfect hunting grounds?
You've probably heard the expression snakes in suits. Well, it perfectly captures the corporate psychopath. These are the people who use all that charm and utter ruthlessness to slither their way up the corporate ladder, and they often leave a trail of ruined careers, toxic workplaces, and even financial disaster in their wake.
So how common are they in the corner office? Well, remember, they're only 1% of the general population, but some studies suggest that up to 12%, 12, of CEOs show significant psychopathic traits. That's a huge overrepresentation, and you can kind of see why. Their ability to make cold, calculated, unemotional decisions can, unfortunately, look a lot like strong leadership.
And it's not just CEOs. Really, any profession that offers power, control, high-stakes decision-making, and maybe a little bit of emotional distance can be like a magnet for them. Think about it. Lawyers, police officers, surgeons, these are all roles where their unique traits, like fearlessness and a lack of empathy, could actually be seen as an advantage.
All right, before we wrap this all up, let's clear up something that gets people really confused all the time. The terms psychopath and sociopath. People use them interchangeably, but clinically, they describe two different, though related, patterns of behavior.
The simplest way to think about it is nature versus nurture. Psychopaths are generally seen as being born that way. It's genetic. It's their brain structure. They are cold, calculating, precise. Sociopaths, on the other hand, are more a product of their environment. Think severe trauma or neglect. They tend to be more impulsive, more erratic. And while their conscience is weak, it isn't totally gone like a psychopath's is. They can sometimes form real bonds with a person or a group.
As we come to the end here, it's really important to get this. This isn't black and white. It's not an on or off switch. Traits like being fearless, a little ruthless, or using charm to get what you want, these exist in all of us to some degree. Psychopathy is really a spectrum.
I mean, we all might have a selfish moment or a flash where we're not feeling particularly empathetic. The key difference here is not the presence of these traits, but their intensity and the complete and total lack of a conscience to keep them from running wild. And that really leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. If charm and confidence and even a touch of ruthlessness are traits we often praise, especially in our leaders, where exactly do we draw the line between a successful personality and a predatory one?